Well, bishops from across the country are gathering in Baltimore, Maryland this week for the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, where they're discussing concerns of pro-abortion politicians receiving the Eucharist. This comes as President Biden and Speaker Pelosi, as we've discussed, met with Pope Francis earlier this year and continue to receive the sacraments while actively supporting abortion legislation that runs completely counter to the Catholic Church and doctrine. Well, today the conference voted to let those politicians off the hook and now receive communion. And according to reports, the measure passed with overwhelming support and was also met with an applause. Here with reaction is Father Gerald Murray from the Holy Family Church in New York. Father, welcome to the show. Good to see you again.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Well, Father, I know that many Catholics were actually surprised by this move. What was your initial reaction to the decision?
Well, of course, I was disappointed because I don't think there's any question that what we have here is a major scandal. The president and Speaker Pelosi are Catholics who defy the doctrine of the faith, which teaches thou shalt not kill unborn children. They think we should. They think the government should pay for it. They think it should be constitutionally protected. All of that is wrong, and they shouldn't, for their own good and the good of the community, come up and receive communion, but they continue to do so. So in canon law, there's a canon called 915, which says those who are obstinately involved in grave public sin, which I think abortion support is, should not be given Holy Communion. And the bishops basically are not enforcing that canon. They're not speaking about it. It is mentioned in the document, but it's never explicated, and there's no kind of encouragement given in this final version to actually take some steps. And for me, that's very disappointing, and I think the average Catholic in the pew and others are going to say, now, wait a minute, you say abortion's wrong, the president says it's right, he gets to go to communion. What's the sense of that?
Exactly. And I mean, I think about this. Some of the bishops in favor of dropping the effort say that they don't want to, quote, politicize abortion. But it's a teaching of the church. And so I guess, I mean, you touched on this. What message does it send as a parish priest when you tell your parishioners it's wrong, but, oh, by the way, the Pope didn't bring it up and the bishops don't think that politicians should be accountable, but you, regular old parishioner, we're going to tell you it's wrong?
Yeah, this leads to all kinds of contradictions in the life of the church. You know, the Pope met with President Biden. President Biden said, the Pope told me I should keep going to communion. The Vatican never denied that or said that the Pope never said that. So what are we supposed to think? Biden is lying about what the Pope said? Probably not. The Pope has said on an airplane ride back from Croatia that Slovakia, that he has never denied communion to anyone. Well, if there's someone who deserves not to be given communion for his own good, it's the President of the United States. It's a major scandal. You know, he always insisting that Catholicism's at the core of everything he does. But wait a minute, Catholicism teaches thou shalt not kill unborn children. The president has said over and over again, we have to defend this spurious right. There's no sense here. This is a contradiction and everybody knows it.
Well, speaking of Biden, the Archbishop here in Washington, D.C. has said that Biden is welcome to receive communion. So either way, nothing would have really changed for him, or do you think it would have?
Well, there's more public pressure that should be put on him, and the bishop should say, look, if canon law says you're not supposed to receive communion, we're supposed to uphold canon law, and we're going to issue a document which says to the other bishops, please uphold canon law. Instead, it's quite evident the bishops are saying, we're not going to do anything on this matter. The average person in the pews is going to say, no, wait a minute. How can I take the bishops seriously that they're fulfilling their mission when in the face of political pressure, they cave? This is not politicizing the Eucharist. It's the politicians who are using the Eucharist as a way to gain bona fides, saying, you know, trust me, I'm close to the Catholic Church. I do what the Catholic Church wants. We want to promote goodness. Abortion is not good. Abortion is bad. Abortion is offensive to God. We need to say that. We need to keep that message going. I'm afraid the bishops missed an opportunity here to be strong. I hope they'll be strong in the future.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because a new poll says that while most Americans do support the right to abortion, I think part of it is because they're not getting pushback. 37% support the 15-week limit. And I feel like to some degree, the more we talk about science and the viability of a fetus in the womb, that's actually continues to be a much stronger argument, because I think people, once they recognize its life, have a much harder time supporting abortion.
Absolutely. In fact, that's why ultrasound is one of the best friends of the pro-life movement. Once a pregnant mom is shown an ultrasound picture of her unborn child, the incidence of abortion goes way down. I love it when people say follow the science when it comes to climate change and the like. What about following the science about human reproduction? The creature in the womb is a baby. It's a baby at the beginning and it's a baby at birth. Everything that happens in the meantime is growth. So we have the science teaches us what's here.
Exactly. Father Murray, thank you for your time and your insight. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
All right. Lindsay, in my book, Radical Nation, I break down the history of Joe Biden's stance on abortion in a way that when I researched it, I didn't realize it was going to be. He used to be very much different in his stance, going all the way back to the 80s and 90s, where he slammed Roe v. Wade as wrongly decided and said publicly to a Catholic newspaper that it went too far. He also claimed that abortion is wrong from the moment of conception. That he said publicly. I document it in the book. It's one of his biggest reversals. Before the holidays, go out, get the book. It's available everywhere. You can go to newsmax.com/23. You'll get your copy in the next couple days, and you'll be ready for Thanksgiving.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.